Hey everyone, welcome to the Brogressive Podcast. Today we're doing a collaboration. I'm going to have Ian and Adam introduce themselves and talk about what they're doing and their podcasts. And Dylan's here as per usual. Dylan, you want to say hi? You've taken a little hiatus, but you're back.
Yep, I'm back. We're here.
Dylan's just had too many shots at the front house, so he's recovering. I'm just kidding.
Been there, done that. Yeah, you need to join me for those shots still. Ian, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so we are, I'm Ian, this is Adam. We are from the Jackass Politics podcast. And we kind of, I guess, started right around the same time that you guys did, right? We wanted to sort of create a podcast that was in like this sort of progressive space, but that called out the bullshit and not really afraid to tell Democrats where they're doing things wrong, but at the same time call out Republicans and make sure that we're holding everyone accountable to try to make us better.
Yep, and I'm Adam. I'm actually an elected official. I'm a commissioner in Wake Forest, North Carolina. Big Panthers fan, if you can't tell by the sign above my head.
I'm so sorry.
It's been a dreadful time.
We're gonna be sick next year, y'all. Don't hate him. Ian is not as encouraged as I am, but
everyone's optimistic in the off season.
We're just gonna get maybe Debo or T. Higgins, and we'll be straight.
Yeah, because Debo and T. Higgins want to go to the Panthers.
Yeah, they want to play.
Hey man, they will. The cap got raised $25 million this year. Like, we have cap space. We're out of cap space hell now. So
yeah,
we may have to pay extra, but somebody
we need straight up mercenaries. That's what we need. It's just people that want to get paid.
Like what Bryce was doing at the end of the year, people were noticing.
Yeah.
So I mean, even Bryce Hall was talking about how good Bryce was and how sick he was. So I mean, even somebody like Bryce Hall might come here.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
You guys don't get to see my sides because I'm not in my room, but I'm a pretty big, sadly, a pretty big Chargers fan, and I'm a Lakers fan too. Dylan keeps me up with the Lakers, but I'm like an NFL fan primarily. So I flew out to the game in Houston. Oh my God, just like seeing that collapse in person was kind of crazy, but food was good.
I'm sure.
Y'all about to lose Bosa. Y'all got a lot of.
No, I want Joey Bosa off the team. Like he needs to. They're probably going to cut him.
Yeah,
Joey Bosa. He's injured like every other game, and then when he plays, he gets like he has a temper tantrum, and gets us like a pretty big fucking flag. And no, I think they're for sure going to cut him because
what they told him last year was like his make or break, right? And they were like, prove you can be healthy, and he had that. I think it was like a really bad hamstring injury.
Yeah, he had something, and he was healthy for I think like most of the season, but it's not worth it.
What's your take on Justin Herbert? Like I watched that game, and he got so much shit for it, but some of those picks, I was like, that is just not his fault.
Two of them were his fault. Two others, no, it did. Two others were not completely not his fault. I think that like he has no one to throw to besides like Ladd, and Ladd's a rookie, Ladd McConkey, and I mean I've lost all hope for like Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson, like the 1% chance that you're watching this podcast. I'm sorry, man. But like,
dude does
this randomly gets on his like YouTube recommended. I've lost, and the issue is like Jim Harbaugh comes in. It's not his roster. Like he kind of has to deal with it.
Yeah,
I mean the defense has been atrocious years past, but like this year was pretty good.
Yeah.
Our run game a lot better this year than I've seen in the past. O-line needs help in the middle. That was an issue. I mean, Herbert was just getting like hit left and right. And I think if we can get a T, I'd rather just get a solidified wide receiver instead of I'm overdeveloping wide receivers. It hasn't worked for us since like Keenan Allen, right? Like it just hasn't worked for us. I mean, like you could argue that maybe Mike Williams did a bit, but I want to get like a T Higgins. Just pay him there's like all these rumors, and Tyreek Hill like posting on his Snapchat like, oh, Chargers swap, like him in a Chargers jersey. I don't know how I feel about Tyreek on the Chargers.
I mean, I'll say just as a person, Adam's heard me say this before too, but yeah, fuck Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Hate that guy.
Horrible person too. I mean,
but yeah,
he's such a good player though. I mean, I don't know how it feels.
I think he's getting washed. Honestly.
Really?
I do.
Or is it just Tua can't deliver the ball to him?
I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, and it was only when Tua was playing.
Yeah.
Like, if you're really good, you can get open. Like, and
yeah, but imagine Justin Herbert and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think he was open. Their backup quarterbacks it just sucked. Their offensive line sucked. Like, everything was bad there. I don't know. That's on him, really.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'll blame him for that one. But T. Higgins is like, he's an all-around, like, wide receiver one. That man can do, like, everything.
Yeah, he's a proven commodity.
Like, having someone like him, like, Tyreek is, like, I guess he's a speed killer. Like, T. Higgins is good at route running. He has good speed. He's great at catching.
Yeah.
So having someone like him paired up with like a lad, I mean, like you keep Quinn as like a wide receiver 4, preferably. But not even a wide receiver 3.
He's gonna be so pissed if he tunes into this episode.
This guy, we have like 10 people that watch our podcast. I doubt he's one of them.
Yeah.
So talking about the podcast, we didn't really come on to talk sports, though we do it all the time. What do y'all think is the most ridiculous thing happening in politics right now? Something that just is making you say, like, fuck, this is insane.
Everything? Every day?
Not to love about politics.
I
mean, you take it away.
I don't know. Honestly, yeah, I was talking to a professor of mine yesterday, and we and her just like talk politics. I'm a poli-sci and history major, and that's why I met Dylan. Dylan's also a poli-sci major here at UCLA. We both met each other at Bruin Democrats my sophomore year, his freshman year.
Nice.
And we had some issues with that group, but I was talking to my professor, and she just was telling me like she wishes she could have like 5 minutes with Trump, just 5 minutes just to talk to him. And we were like, he doesn't have a, like, besides what, like, nationalism, I would say, in like a core belief in tariffs, I don't think he has like a set of policies he believes in. So when I see something on the news that like, oh, Trump supports this right now, he all of a sudden supports like raising the cap for H-1B visas when he's been like against it in the past. And a lot of MAGA is against it, but because Elon Musk is running the show, he agrees to it. I think it's like the blatant, just like flip-flopping, which like is usual in politics, but it doesn't, when a politician flip-flops, it's all over the news. Everyone talks about it, right? Like Kamala Harris comes out against like X policy that's supported in 2020.
Yeah.
When Trump does it, it's like, a normal Tuesday. And I think that is what's so strange to me. It's like, he doesn't have, and I have to remember this, like, he doesn't have a set of policies he believes in.
Right.
I've always heard that like the last person to talk to him is who he talks.
Yes, I've heard that too.
So,
well, I feel like partially though he is held in account by his political party, and in the sense that like if he were to go against abortion rights, if he was like, I'm a pro-choice Republican now, it's like he probably wouldn't. He would definitely get like 30-40% of the Republican Party being like, yeah, we love this. But like, I feel like there probably is a line in the sand at a certain point where he is smart enough. I won't say he's smart, but he's smart enough to recognize like, I can't go past abortion rights, or I can't go past my virtue signaling on American freedom or whatever. So I think he has, it doesn't matter how it manifests, whether it's a core belief or it's something he's held in account for, but I feel like he has both of those things. The way they both actually play out is like, I might really like tariffs and immigration, but I have to like stay with abortion rights. I have to pretend I love the Bible. I feel like those things are also keep him into those.
You can now purchase the Trump Bible, by the way, for like $15.99.
Oh, wonderful.
Including a copy of the Constitution.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely has to exist like with in this very loose framework of the party that he can't quite go out of, but he does have a lot of wiggle room within that party to kind of operate in a way that just serves him best or whoever he's trying to serve. So like, Elon Musk and basically all of his nominations for cabinet positions. It's just like whatever he thinks in that particular moment gets him exactly what he wants right then is the way he's going to sort of operate. And kind of, I guess, to answer Adam's question a little bit, like the most frustrating thing for me in politics right now is, walking the line of like, anybody with any sense, and I hate saying it that way, but knew that this shit was going to happen, right? We knew that this was going to be more or less how this administration went. So as somebody who told people this, as somebody who talked to a lot of voters, I phone banked, I did everything and got the message out, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of that. But then we're here now, walking that line of being like, hey, I told you so, or, wanting to constantly call out the bullshit that they're doing, or focusing my energy on the way that a lot of Democrats just aren't doing a very fucking good job of explaining what we're about. And I know you have to do both, but we shouldn't as Democrats have to tell the leaders of our party that, hey, your message isn't good enough. It's not strong enough. You're not doing the things that you need to do to turn this around in 2026. And it's like watching this very slow car crash happening and nobody's learning anything and nobody's correcting the course. And I say nobody, obviously it's a little better than that, but it's still, that's what's frustrating to me right now.
I would say, bouncing off of that, just Ian and I were just discussing this on our show and wanted to get your thought is, there was a lot of talk this week of a Democratic Tea Party takeover. Do y'all think that could be a thing? And if so, what does it look like? How does it happen to y'all?
Okay, real quick. Let me answer this real quick. Okay, so we have to understand who the new Democratic base is. The new Democratic base is not like the old working class, like they might be populist in some sense, and I think the Tea Party had populist elements. The new Democratic base is this like college-educated, suburban, ex-urban voter. And it's hard to form a Tea Party movement with that base. Like I was looking at the exit polls yesterday, and Kamala Harris won, people who make over 100K and people who make over 200K.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult to get those people to rally on certain economic issues versus like cultural and social issues. This is my whole idea of why the party has appeared to move more left on social and cultural issues, because the base as a whole has moved more left on those issues. Whereas economic issues, I mean, you can make an argument that like Biden moved us a bit more left, or populist is what I like to say, because a lot of these issues are very popular. I like to think that's moderate issues. The base itself, those aren't the issues that like galvanize, like income inequality, I don't think is an issue that galvanizes a lot of the base, because they're doing pretty well, good for them. So that's where I think we kind of run into a problem with having a traditional Tea Party movement, something very similar to what they had in like 2009 and 10.
So I would push back a little bit, because this is how I would see it, right? Like you're right. We do have those people. However, I think we need to look at how that base grows, right? And we obviously need to add more voters. And kind of what I was talking with Ian about is that it seems to me that people will twist themselves in knots to match their social beliefs and the party they're going to vote for to their economic beliefs, right? So whoever they feel is going to be the best party on the economy is how they're going to match their views, right? And I think that's why you see this culture swing that we have, I think, all perceived since the election, right? And it's we went from everything being, very left wing in 2020, and then things shifted over, right? And now it feels a little bit more right wing, and it's just people have twisted themselves politically to try to match their other beliefs because they want their wallet. They're looking out for themselves, right? Like, I think it comes down to what James Carville has always said, is that it's the economy's stupid, right? I mean, it's like that is the issue, and that's where we need to lead on. So if we want to grow that base, appealing to the people that is the working class, I think the upper ends of, 100 and 200,000, isn't really, like, it's not insane money, right? Like, you're
but Adam, how many members of the working class are still in the base?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. We rope them back in, right? By being smart on the economy. I
think what maybe Beleh is saying is, like, are the people making 100,000 plus or 200,000 plus going to be motivated enough to then organize and create a Tea Party? Or do you need somebody who is in a distressed financial, or a group of people in distressed financial situations to build that movement?
Well, aren't the roots of the Democratic Party a little deeper than the last 4 years? I do agree, but it's like the last 4 years, maybe 8 to 12 years, if you're really pushing back that far, is the wine elite, I went to college and I make $200,000 type of thing.
Yeah.
But there are, like, so many voters and so many different constituencies and so many elected officials that would be able to kind of create that movement. I don't know if it would be Tea Party-esque, but it would be more so like a, it would be really interesting to see if, like, the working class part of the Democratic Party could maybe create a social media movement or something like that, because it's not going to have the same look as the Tea Party. But I think I agree with Adam more on this. We're creating battle lines right now, but
it's good, man. People like conflict.
Yeah, but I do think the Democratic Party is the party of the civil rights movement. It is the party of the New Deal and the Great Society, and it has lost its way with things like NAFTA and things like January 6th, encouraging more college-educated voters to vote with the Democratic Party. But there's just such a monumental historical significance of the working class and the Democratic Party, such an identity there, that it flipped. But I don't know if it's necessarily like I'm a ride or die Trump person now. It's like, the classic example, like, my egg prices are a little higher, I'm going to vote for this time. It's not as deep of a connection with the Republican Party. At least maybe that's me.
Make it overcomplicated, right?
Yeah.
I think I agree absolutely with that sentiment. But when you're talking about, I think, creating a lasting,
there's like, I think there's a party on my roof right now.
Are you a fucking airplane or something?
Dude, I just hear that.
Yeah, I thought it sounded like an airplane. Like,
I thought it was an airplane.
Keep going, Ian.
But like the group of people who are going to create a movement or something that is built and gets bigger and bigger, I don't think that comes from voters who are susceptible to voting from one party to the next. I think that's, and I think Beleh is maybe saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that movement has to occur with people who feel very strongly in one specific way within a party. Or I don't know that like I said, I don't know that the voters who vote, who maybe went Trump, Biden, Trump, is going to be somebody who creates a Tea Party-like movement.
Yeah. And real quick, Adam,
go ahead. What I was just going to say, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing, because when I hear like Tea Party-esque movement, right? Like, it's not that they have the small government, low taxes.
Yeah, of course,
right?
Of course.
It's like a party that springs out of nowhere in your party, right? Like, it's a grassroots movement that overtakes the party.
Yeah, that's what I think we're saying is those that people who in my opinion, and I don't really have the data to back this, but in my opinion, people whose political opinions are in flux from election to election are not the people starting those movements.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Beleh. Yeah,
just real quick. I think another thing to like realize is that what is the constituency in the Democratic Party? What do the activist groups in the Democratic Party care about the most? Like in the last 4 to 8 years, 12 years, like you always had a faction of the Republican Party that was like small government. Hey, like let's take a fucking hammer to the federal government. You had like Reagan's famous quote that 9 whatever like scariest words are like, oh, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. They always had that within the Republican Party. I would argue that the Democratic Party, when you look at the activists in the Democratic Party, they're not so much economically like focused, right? So if we have a Tea Party movement like we kind of did in 2017 to a certain effect with like the Women's March and all these protests and notice they weren't economically focused. When it came to Obamacare, they started protesting against like the repeal of Obamacare. So that's my concern, is that we don't have like a hard group of people that are economically focused. Like, hey, we're gonna fight for raising taxes on the rich. We're gonna fight for increasing like childcare subsidies. We're gonna fight for expanding healthcare coverage. I don't see that within the activist groups. And the activist groups are the ones that would make the most noise if we do create like a left version of the Tea Party.
So
go ahead, Adam.
Let me say something real quick. So, I would say that if you look at 2016, the Bernie Sanders effect, and look even like it's carrying over to today. Like he had to turn away people in Omaha,
last night,
Nebraska. Yeah. So like, I think Bernie, like. People like Bernie because he does talk about the economy, right? Yeah. And y'all may not relate to this, but it is something that Ian and I have talked about before. Somebody my age, and around my age and up, maybe a little lower, we went through the financial crisis, right? And I was working in a job in 2008 where I lost my job because some guy on fucking Wall Street was playing around, right? Like, and then I wake up one day because Wall Street and the housing market suck. I lost my job. That I still have that economic angst, and like all the shit I'm seeing happening right now where we're, the shit Trump's pulling on deregulating fucking everything, cutting all these jobs, talking about sending $5,000 checks to people, all these things.
The $5,000 check would be cool. I don't know why some Democrats in the Congress were like, that was the one thing they were going to come out against. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's $1.3 trillion in cost.
No, I know, but like, don't come out against that, man. It's like optics. Like, pick something else.
I mean, you have to though, because.
But if it does happen and you came out against it, I mean, you just give Republicans the next however many elections.
Bro, yeah. Like, I got $5,000 and Democrats want to take that shit away from me. It's like what happened in Georgia during 2020.
I did hear people say that they liked, they voted for Trump for the Trump stimmy, right? Like, that was his thing. But also, I mean, and I say this as the elected official here, like, we have to be principled in our approach, right? And sometimes it's going to bite you in the ass. It just is. But being the grown up and saying, hey, we can't just keep giving $5,000 checks to people. I mean, when does that stop?
We never started giving $5,000 checks to people.
They're wanting to talk about it, right? But if they do that and then they want to do it next year, are we going to support it then? When do you say no, right? And then
that
why
could be like
a
UBI,
I
mean, it could be a UBI type thing.
Oh, man.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, you see what I mean? It's
I think it'd be really interesting. I wanted to talk about this. Like, I know where Ian's at, and I've seen a little bit of y'all, but where on the political spectrum do y'all find yourself? Because that also might explain some of it. Like, I take every so often, I go on the isidewith.com and take their full quiz, like answer every question. Just because I'm a masochist like that. But I'm definitely very center left. Like I'm even a little or a little more center than Obama was, right?
Oh wow.
What about yeah? So where are you at, Ian?
Probably about the same. I think that I'm a maybe all things together, I'm probably a little more left than you, but not by a significant margin.
We agree a lot.
Yeah, most of the time.
What about you, Beleh?
I call myself a progressive because I'm a big fan of a lot of the progressive reforms that occurred in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And I think the word progressive I find it pretty similar to like the word populist in a sense. I kind of, it depends on the issue, but if you ask me, I'm probably more left than you guys. I would put myself somewhere between like a Hillary and a Bernie. Like I'd probably put myself in the middle of both of them. If I had to give like I love Wes Moore, right? Governor of Maryland.
Yeah.
I like, who else do I like? Someone that's comparable. I like Richard Whitmer. I think her politics is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so having like that working class, like populist, progressive, like anti-corruption, but let's like, if we can work with Republicans on issues that are good, work on them. If we're working on them to like deregulate Wall Street, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Dylan, what about you, Dylan?
I'm in the same spot. I got social media way too young and was probably a little too radical. But
I was a big Bernie bro back in the day, like 7th grade.
Yeah. Same. That was my Halloween costume in 7th grade.
We were big Bernie bros. Like I'm talking about, I remember when he won the Michigan primary in 2016 and I was doing my math project. So I remember I had like a project for math, and I just like had a TV in my room, and I was like, dude, there's no way. They're all saying he's not gonna win Michigan. Like, fuck, it's over. Then all of a sudden, it's like CNN's breaking news. I love CNN's like we have a major projection right now. Yeah. Bernie Senior is one of the state of Michigan. I was like, holy shit, he's just won Michigan. Holy shit, holy shit.
So, I mean, it's kind of funny though, Beleh, that where you and I are probably similar, and Ian knows this about me. Teddy Roosevelt is like, I love Roosevelt.
Teddy.
And I've been trying for years, even before I was an elected official, to actually get the Bull Moose Party as a party inside the Democratic Party. So that's kind of funny. Like when I start seeing like there's going to be a Tea Party movement in the left, I'm like, fuck it, let's go. Like,
but they would be the party today that would be against like stock trading, right? They'd be the party.
But, I mean, Teddy was still, he was a Republican, which the parties have switched, but he was still pretty conservative. I mean, there would definitely be beliefs that our party would have that he was
an interventionist too, right? Like a pretty big interventionist.
Yeah, I mean, he liked war a lot. It's not something I glamorize about him. Definitely a bad trait. He hated Indians a lot, but those are not the beliefs that I like of his. Yeah. But I actually have his quote like right here hanging up about the man in the arena. So
that's a great quote. I love that.
Yeah,
quote.
He's one wordy bastard, but he has some great quotes. And it goes. I quote him a lot on use government where government makes the most sense, right?
Yes,
that is how we should look at government, not this bureaucracy. They built the Empire State Building in 4 years, or I think I'm pretty sure that was the Empire State Building they built in 4 years.
Surely.
Now we can't even get a high-speed rail project done in 30, right? Like, what the hell is happening that we can't function? Like, it should not take 30 years. We don't have the ability.
Do I have to defend the California high-speed rail?
I think you might have to, because I'm pissed off as hell that y'all are just like not doing shit about it.
Okay, I'll send you a good video about it. There's a really good video I recommend watching. There's a lot of things that go into it, but we can talk about it later. But it's I'm not shitting on North Carolina here. I mean,
there's plenty to shit on.
What the fuck do you guys have?
We have Republicans that run our state, so
but not anymore, right? You have like the top of the, I think.
We have a governor that they're stripping every fucking power away from him.
Yeah, but our like General Assembly is like, what is it? It's basically a supermajority. It's just shy of a supermajority.
We saw your guys' like gerrymandered mapping class.
Fuck.
It's like, oh, Republicans get 49% of the vote. Dems get 49% of the vote.
Yeah,
and it's get like 9 out of.
I mean, they literally had one of our Republican representatives defend his map and saying the only reason why it was like I think 11-2 is because we couldn't make it 13-0, right? Like
that's
I mean, they literally said that in court.
And we still have we have the only statewide election that still is not resolved, Supreme Court, because they're trying to throw out 65,000 fucking votes, you know, Riggs and Griffin. It's just crazy. Like this state is fucked. It's so
y'all need to really keep an eye on that though.
You guys have been basically in the opposition in like North Carolina for your entire lives. I mean,
fuck this whole thing about North Carolina's gonna go blue finally. North Carolina, I'm so over that shit.
Dude,
stop spending money there. I'm sorry.
So fucking close though. It's so fucking close. I
mean,
mean,
problem there's a lot of problems in North Carolina, but there is so much unlocked potential here that it could. It's just nobody seems fucking to want to do it. Like Adam and I both live in very blue counties, so whenever we're out and about and talking to people, it's like, oh, everything's fucking great in North Carolina. What? And then as soon as the election happens, you're like, nope, still shit. And you go right back. So it's just like, I don't know. There is so much potential here, but it's just unlocked, unrealized potential.
And we do have a good leader in Anderson Clayton. I don't know if y'all know Anderson. So I was actually, I don't know if y'all knew this, I was the only elected official to endorse her in when she first ran. So
she's from like rural North Carolina, right?
Yeah, she's about an hour away from me, if that. So yeah, Anderson's she's gonna come on our show shortly. She's
that's pretty sick, dude. I like her. I mean, one thing I just want to say real quick. I haven't been exposed to like rural America at all. Like I think one of the at all. So it was.
Really? I wouldn't have thought that of you.
Dylan, fuck you. You haven't been exposed to shit.
At least I'm not getting up on a soapbox right now.
Okay, hold up. But when I went to this isn't even rural America. I ought to get shit on. Hold up. Driving through Texas was like mind blowing. Like wow.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm just it kind of made me realize how
yeah, it's a different world, man.
I mean, I grew up in y'all should Google it, Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina.
How do you spell that?
Roanoke Rapids.
Oh, okay, Roanoke Rapids
in North Carolina, and it's a little tiny.
Oh my
town.
god! I just see. Wow,
you're like
pretty
15, though. Well,
they put you gotta say something, guys. You guys have small businesses.
They put the good
that they're leaving too. I mean, I-95, which is like a major highway on the like y'all's I-5, runs through it right on a border. So basically, that's the lifeblood of that town. But growing up, you want to talk about the effects of NAFTA. My town was founded as a mill town, and we had 3 mills there, and that's the reason why. My family on both sides, my mom and my dad's side, they were originally in rural Virginia, had farms and stuff growing up. The mills brought them down into Roanoke Rapids, and everybody worked there. In the late 80s and early 90s, and the mills started to pull out after NAFTA was signed, and all that textiles and stuff went overseas and all that. So.
We have in Charlotte, we got entire neighborhoods around old mills that have been turned into other businesses and apartment complexes. That was a huge part of North Carolina's economy. The whole state.
Is there anything is there any policy decision by Democrats that has affected the voter base worse than NAFTA in your guys' opinion? Like, is there anything that's comparable to it?
Like on the one, I got to say this, that I'm going to talk a little bit both sides out of my mouth on it a little bit, because while I have seen the effects, like in theory and as a whole, I am appreciative of free trade, right? Like it makes sense that we all benefit from making things the cheapest way possible. I'm against tariffs.
Against all tariffs, or like, how do you feel about like targeted tariffs, or like tariffs that like Biden continued on EV vehicles? Like,
I haven't seen, and maybe y'all have evidence to show otherwise, that tariffs do what they really intend to do.
Well, Adam, if we had lifted all the tariffs on like EV vehicles and China's producing them for like real cheap, these are not good cars, right? Like my friend is from Panama. They have a lot of Chinese EV vehicles there that are ass. Sure. So if we had just like not put tariffs on there, it would have flooded our market. People would have probably purchased those instead of a lot of American-based EV vehicles, which would have, first of all, if you have any hopes of transitioning to like electric and other renewable energy, you're cooked, because China's flooding the market for the U.S.
So let's play it out though, right? Like, what's the next step after what you're talking about? The next step after you're talking about, the market gets flooded with these Chinese vehicles in this case, right? Yeah. Then what's going to happen to the market? Supply and demand, right? So in that, that's where the free market is going to kick in that people are going to see the quality issue. It's like Ian and I were discussing the difference between a Kia electric vehicle the other day, and Ian's a big Rivian fan. So the difference there is a major difference in quality, and people are willing to pay for quality. But
I will say, just as a quick there, Rivian would almost certainly not survive in this scenario. You would basically be probably left with legacy manufacturers and Tesla. Just saying that, Rivian's been burning through money. So if there was a competitor that could really, they would not survive, which is, like you said, free market. It is what it is. Just as a clarification.
But the overall point being that you have to think that next step out, because I do hear you, right? Like, I understand what you're saying, but then I think that that's also where the free market starts taking over, and people see that there's an inferior product and a product that doesn't work. Eventually those companies are going to go south. That is the market. Now, could China in the long run prop them up and stuff?
Well, it also is like, depends on the part of the market that you're talking about, right? Because in an ideal, fully optimized global system, each country would have their specialized product. Like, sure, the United States would be sending out a bunch of corn and specialized like high information jobs, and like Argentina would be sending out beef, and all those examples. So like for the cars thing, yes, it's probably true. Cars would probably suck, but there would also be cheaper goods that are like better produced in other places, that just the cost alone would be better.
Yeah.
I don't really know where I fall on the side of the NAFTA debate, because it's like, it does lower prices if you have global trade. You have better optimized things, bearing in mind that Trump is putting a bunch of tariffs on everything, so that's just going to make everything worse. But in that scenario, you get lower prices, and but it's also jobs get punted overseas, and you're never going to see them again. So
but then your economy, the speed of the money increases though too, right? It's
you've got like with that, but you look at it, the market always adapts. It's just in that little bit of like space when these sort of things first take place, it's very painful, and there's a lot of growing pains in that area. And I talked to some people on the some right wingers about tariffs in particular, and I'm not 100% against tariffs. I don't think tariffs are exclusively or at all times a bad thing. I think there can be a place for them. Where I have issues with like tariffs right now is that shit is already incredibly expensive. People are already suffering. And then going and making those things just across the board even more expensive is going to lead a lot of people to have to obviously carry credit card debt to pay for things that they would have otherwise been able to pay for on their normal salary. And that's going to get them trapped in an economic position they might never be able to get themselves out of. So tariffs should be designed to correct whatever if you're talking about a trade imbalance, or if you're talking about, like Beleh said, not flooding the market with bad products that are going to knock, American manufacturers out, that sort of thing can, and it really should only happen when the economy is extremely healthy, when inflation's relatively low, when unemployment's relatively low. Right now, doing something like that is just extremely fucking dangerous. It's going to put a lot of people in a bad position.
Which is probably why it made sense for Clinton and then Trump the first time to do it again. It's like the economy's good, but you can also make the argument, like, this isn't just a 1 or 2 year like growing pain. It's generations almost. Where you're at. You think Detroit is like the example that I think of on the West Coast. Like, communities completely destroyed, people moving away from their homes just because they can't live there anymore. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, that would be the other side of my mouth, is I've seen the direct result, right? Like, I've seen my hometown just get absolutely wrecked. And I mean, I don't think it's grown, maybe shrank since I left in high school. That's real impact. I've spoken a lot in the past about things that my hometown could have done, our state could have done to help, make these conditions better for my town. Make investments. I mean, it didn't help that their solution to some textile mills pulling out was to, hey, let's build a performance art theater and have Dolly Parton's drunk brother run it. That definitely does not help. It's not a good economic strategy, just putting that out there. And then when they did that, 2008 happened right at the same time. So they really got like kicked into Jimmy twice in a row, so they're I think that's where there could have been a pivot, right? And it just took some better forward thinking than what the people were doing at that time.
Yeah.
And it's like what Ian's talking about happened in Charlotte is they're taking and turning it into bars, right? And other, streams that now help create the jobs.
But
right?
This took decades.
Sure. And I'm not saying it did.
Well, I'm agreeing with you, but
okay.
Like, this would have made sense had that been done right away. Use those for small, but they just let them basically almost become dilapidated to the point where they had to be saved 20 years later.
Yeah. So, it's like I said, I understand the intent of the tariffs. However, I see that they also make things more expensive. And I think the better solution is let's find ways that if there are industries here that if they're, are economic, if we're impacting them in a negative way with any type of, restrictions on what they can do and can't do or whatever, look at finding ways to streamline it and, see if we can cut some red tape that's there, cut the bureaucracy out of places, find the ways to make it cheaper that way. And then ultimately everybody wins, right? There's so much extra that I could think of that we could do to not have to do tariffs.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a last ditch effort. Well, I mean, it's also the Trump thing, so
it's his favorite word.
Oh, I want to ask one question real quick though to the North Carolina guys here, Adam and Ian. What's like a big misconception, or to you guys, maybe not a misconception, about California? I want to hear this.
You want to go first, Ian, or you want me?
So, wait a minute. Like, clarify a misconception that, like,
what's something you guys like? Because like I know these people from Florida who think that like we have to fingerprint ourselves every single time we go into the grocery store.
No, so I want to clarify that I have been to and visit California several times a year, every year for like the last 10 years. So I'm very familiar with California, particularly Southern California, LA and Long Beach, but been to San Francisco. I've been all over California. So any misconceptions that
you don't have any,
I think I'm pretty, have been resolved.
I would say one that y'all would probably disagree with is a perception, because Ian and I have talked about it before, is the bad policy from the Democratic Party that comes out of the state, right? Like, I know
my boy Max agrees with me. I was on a pod with him, and he was like, "Fuck yeah, that's 100% right."
Yeah, there's just been it seems the worst of the worst policy comes, like from maybe like a Berkeley or something, like it gives our party that black eye that the Republicans can point to, and say, well, look, this is what they're doing. These are their elected officials, so.
Anything
there's like this idea that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking any policy in particular, Adam, sticks out.
I mean, I got to go to housing policy.
Yeah, housing.
Yeah. Because if you have LA that's supposed to be like one of the greatest cities in the world, why are you not
it's true.
building up, right?
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying
can I give you the reason why?
I mean, I'm familiar with NIMBYs.
It's okay. There's also like I'm a big history nerd, right? And something people don't understand about like Southern California is that like LA wasn't supposed to be like this New York type city. Like it's not like that wasn't at all the design. If you notice, if you look at an aerial map of LA, there's like high rises downtown.
I've filmed in LA before. Yeah.
So LA and Southern California, and California in general, but Southern California was supposed to be the suburbs. And that's the way it is today, right? It's just like it's suburbia, it's suburban American. That was like the design from the beginning.
Sure.
So it's a little hard to like come in today and change. And also, like, to be fair to LA, you have 10 million people living in LA County. It's just too many people.
But that's the thing. It's not. Like, if you look at Paris and how dense Paris is built, and I hear what you're saying that, yeah, it wasn't meant to be, but at some point you have to recognize what the reality of the city is, right? Like, you have to recognize people want to move there for a reason. And so make it affordable for people to be able to live there, or else you're going to start seeing a mass migration away because you're not allowing enough people to build housing. I mean, the more houses you build, the more places you build, the cheaper it's going to be.
I just don't know where you would build. Like, but
I mean,
yes,
it's going to look like New York, but put your own spin on it.
No,
right?
I don't want it to look like New York. I'm sorry. This is where I get a little.
You're a NIMBY, Beleh. What the fuck?
I'm not a NIMBY, but it's like I don't know. That's not
like
what Southern California is.
No high rises in my backyard.
Yeah. I mean, y'all have a
Southern California
famous parking lot.
Yeah.
That people had a historic parking lot that they didn't want to build on.
We love our parking lots.
That's your parking minimums. What's that?
We love our parking lots.
Yeah, that's the problem, though, right? Like, mandatory parking for a bar size or stuff like that. Like, we
need more parking, in my opinion.
But that's
so bad.
You can have parking decks; they do exist, you know, and there are solutions, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like, having leaders in your city that are forward thinking and visionary, but recognizing that while you may have these grand plans of things, it's obviously having a negative effect trying to hold on to that history, the history, right? Like,
let me defend California real quick. Okay. We have, hold up. We have the 7th lowest violent crime rate / gun death rate, right? Number 1.
Sure.
Number 2, we have the number 1 best public university system in the world, funded by the state government.
Number 1.
Number 3,
UCLA.
Number 1 public university. Yeah. And number 2, because of Berkeley, they're number 2. This is number 2. We also have, like, we produce 70% of the nation's produce. People don't know that. Like, California produces 70% of the nation's produce.
Great, man. Y'all are like an economic powerhouse. I'm not saying
I got it. And also, like, people talk about the expensive prices and stuff. Dude, if you live 20 miles away from the beach, you're going to be paying that. If you just, like, live in Riverside County, which is about an hour away from LA, you can get a nice home for like $500.
I don't know about that.
That's sprawl at that point, right? Like, you're talking about sprawl at that point. You're talking about pushing out your population. 10 million
people in LA County, like, you don't have a choice. Like, guys, the traffic here, and you know this, Ian, it is diabolical.
It is. So you know what the answer to the traffic is? Because building more lanes, it doesn't work, right?
What is the answer?
is public transportation.
People don't want to. See,
and it
I would
comes
love
back
that.
full circle to having that high speed rail, right?
I love that. People don't want to get on public transit here. People do not want to get on public transit
because
here.
they don't have good, they don't know what good is. Like I don't have it here in Raleigh. I want it. I'm doing everything I can to get it in my town. But when I went to DC and I didn't have to ever,
it's fucking great.
I got on the subway for everything, and it was like this. I was bam, bam, right?
Like, also, like as somebody who spends a lot of time in New York, public transit is very hit or miss. It can be fucking scary sometimes. So I mean, it's got to be obviously got to be maintained, and there's a lot of that goes.
That's the main problem, actually. So okay,
look at
after this thought, I think we'll wrap it up because we don't want to keep Ian around. But but I was me and Beleh were in Bruin Democrats, and there was this person in Bruin Democrats. I won't name them, but they were a very, very, very progressive person, and they were giving this whole presentation on public transportation, and they're like super pro public transportation, like everyone should be taking it. And for this presentation, she went on like the subway in downtown LA, and she's again hyper progressive, said there's too many homeless people. I can't do it. It's like, it's too bad. The quality of the system, it's there. I just can't take it. I don't feel safe.
So Dylan, let me make it a little bit more full circle for you. Is that if we made housing cheaper?
Yes, they're all connected.
Homeless, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is why I see the policy.
It's not just a housing issue with homelessness here, though. It's really like some of these people do not want to get off the street.
We could talk all day about it.
A lot of the mental institutions.
It's they do not. So I actually like the government needs to come and swoop a lot of them out. That's my hot take. I'm gonna be. I've worked with like.
I was there just like actually a month ago. And there was a woman who rode a bus from the Hertz transit bus from LAX out to where I was getting my rental car from. And I mean, she was obviously having some sort of mental health and crisis, drugs, all that stuff. And she was literally walking up and down the bus trying to steal people's, phones out of their hand. I get off, get my rental car, drive out, and there's obviously people doing the fentanyl lean over in the middle of the road. And I'm like, this is not a housing thing. These people just can't be helped now.
My whole idea
they're all connected. I agree with you, Adam. There's a lot of people in California, like some people I know very dearly who are very, very pro housing and pro development, actually work in like development. It's just all these things are so interconnected in such complicated ways where if you fix housing, you have to fix public transportation. If you fix public transportation, you have to fix homelessness. And it's like you have to tackle all of them at the same time, which maybe for the government is too big of a
40 million people live here, guys. It's just like
just remember, I'll end it on this and then we got to go. But I'll just say it starts with your zoning policy in a city that handles a ton. It doesn't. You got to.
There's a lot of heavy lifting,
but we know what
works. Like convincing these like affluent, like we live right by like you live right by Beverly Hills. None of that.
But now you're speaking. There again. Now you're.
We can have some high rises, a couple or mid rises, and some duplexes. But we're not turning into New York City. I'm not letting Southern California.
We'll have to come back to this. We're gonna have to do this again.
We're gonna have to have a housing episode.
We should. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Right,
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Ian. We really appreciate it. Listening to the Brogressive Podcast. Again, follow us on all the socials everywhere.
And follow Adam and Ian. We'll link them.
Jackass Politics.
Jackass Politics.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. And we'll do this again.
We'll do it next time on time, I promise, with my background. I'll make it up to you guys. I swear.
Kids. We don't believe that.